What's up, YouTube? This is Bystander X79. Guys, happy May 4th. That is right. Today is Star Wars Day. We are celebrating one of the greatest film franchises of all time by doing a Kozmo deck profile. That's right. Konami, TCG, they kind of went on a bit of a film buff kick when designing archetypes. Star Wars was one of the film franchises they used to build an archetype of. Yeah, they blended in the Wizard of Oz as well to make the characters a little bit more unique, but still, when you look at the artwork of all the Kozmo cards, you're getting the Star Wars vibe completely. And I can tell you this right now, this deck doesn't disappoint. The Kozmo monsters are divided primarily between the Psychic type pilots as well as the machine type ships, so I'm going to be utilizing the term pilot and ships throughout the video, so don't be confused by that. The deck is just awesome. You can play it in many different ways. This particular build is a little bit more of a control build, but you also have the ability to turn off that control and just go completely full aggro and OTK your opponent once you have yourself set up. And I can tell you this right now, I love doing that because this deck just sings. Alright, so without further ado, we are going to jump right into this. As always, we're starting off with the monsters, and we're going to start off with 3 copies of Kozmo Tin Can. This is the R2-D2 of the archetype. Now, all the Kozmo pilots have a similar quick effect where basically you can actually banish them off the field and special summon another higher level Kozmo monster from your hand to the field. So you can replace them with another pilot if there's a higher level, or you can even replace them with another ship if you have it in your hand, which is just awesome. All the pilots do that, like I said. Also, all the pilots have an effect where you can pay life points to get different effects. Tin Can is the heavy lifter of this deck, primarily because you pay 500 life points, and then during your end phase you reveal 3 Kozmo cards with different names. Your opponent randomly selects one of those cards to add to your hand, the other 2 sits into the graveyard, so you can actually help load your grave as well as get materials you need into your hand to help further your plays, which is just awesome. Next up, we have the C3PO of the R-Type Kozmo Strawman. Strawman's life point effect, you can pay 500 life points. You target one of your banished Kozmo monsters to bring it back onto the field. However, during the end phase, the card is destroyed, so you really want to be looking to bring back your ships that were banished, primarily because when the ships are destroyed, they get other effects, which can help you get more monsters out of your deck. So that's the primary reason why you want to be seeing him. And then, of course, we got Kozmo Farm Girl. She is the Luke Skywalker of the archetype, and she helps facilitate OTKs. Basically, whenever she does damage to your opponent's life points, you can pay 500 life points to search your deck for another Kozmo monster to add to your hand. Very awesome. And because she is a pilot, she can banish yourself to special summon another Kozmo monster out of your hand, so you can actually start a bit of an attack chain just with one monster to be able to build up into more damage and eventually take that win. So that's pretty much the OTK facilitator. Next up, you have 1 copy of Kozmo Sword Trooper. This is the Stormtroopers that can actually hit things. You pay 1,000 life points and you're able to basically special summon a Kozmo pilot from your graveyard back onto the field, which is awesome. Helps you get your monsters onto the field so you can get more ships out of your hand during your opponent's turn, which is just huge. Next up, we have Kozmo Wicked Witch. Kozmo Wicked Witch is basically the Darth Maul of the archetype. And just like Darth Maul, she's too angry to die. You pay 1,000 life points and she basically becomes towers, unaffected by all your opponent's card effects, and she can't be destroyed by battle either, which means you can actually put her into defense position and you have a pretty much awesome wall on the field that your opponent's not going to be able to get all over. So definitely she's worth having in this deck, at least at 1. And then, of course, we have 2 copies of Kozmo Dark Lady. Kozmo Dark Lady, she is the Darth Vader of the archetype. And just like Darth Vader, a complete and total awesome, amazing villain. She is essentially a walking Solemn Strike in terms of her monster effect. You pay 1,000 life points and you negating one of your opponent's monster effects and destroying that monster when your opponent activates it, so that's pretty damn awesome. You get that little extra interaction to help protect the deck, and just keeping her on the field is worth it. She's also the highest level Kozmo pilot in the deck, so you definitely want to be bringing her out via the other pilot effects. Next up for the ships, 3 copies of Kozmo Sliprider. Sliprider, anytime on summon, you're going to be targeting a spell and trap card on the field and destroying it, and that actually comes in very handy even with your own cards. And like I mentioned before, all Kozmo ships, they have an effect whenever they're destroyed by battle or card effect. You can banish the card from your graveyard and then special summon a lower level Kozmo monster from your deck to the field. The level restrictions are written on each of the cards. Typically it's usually a monster level lower than the ship that's been destroyed. Next up, we got 2 copies of Kozmo Forerunner. This is the Millennium Falcon of the R-Type. When it's on the field, during your standby phases, you're gaining back 1,000 life points, which is awesome because the Kozmo pilots, they use life points for their effects, so this helps you replenish your life points just to be able to keep utilizing the pilot effects more often. So, definitely worth it. It's also one of the larger ships which makes it unaffected by your opponent's card effects. Or actually untargetable by your opponent's card effects, excuse me. And that actually helps out a lot of the time, so definitely worth it. And then of course we have another one of the ships that we run 3 copies of, Kozmo Dark Destroyer. Just like Sliprider, on summon, you're targeting any card on the field, and you could any monster on the field, excuse me, and you're destroying it, which is just awesome, allowing you to interact with your opponent's board by removing resources, or just targeting one of your own monsters to pop to get an additional card out of your deck. So yeah, definitely worth playing alongside another ship. And then last but not least, we have Kozmo Dark Eclipser. This is the Imperial Star Destroyer of the Kozmo R-Type. Very awesome card. As long as you have second type Kozmo monsters in your graveyard, you can actually banish them to negate the activation of traps, and that comes in handy in the Eldritch matchups. Also, when this card is destroyed and sent to the graveyard and banished, you're actually searching your deck for a lower level monster, not special summoning it from your deck. So just keep that in mind with this card. And that's the primary reason why we only run 1 copy of it, since it's searches and not special summons. Alright, and the last monster in this deck, and a little bit of the tech option that I'm running right now, and that's 1 copy of Artifact Scythe. The primary reason why I'm running Scythe is basically whenever it's special summoned, especially during your opponent's turn, it prevents your opponent from special summoning from their extra deck, and that can just shut down a turn, depending on the deck you're facing. So, definitely, it is an amazing option. It's also a 2200 attack point body on the field, so you get that extra oomph of an attack. Alright, that's it for the monster lineup. On to the spells. I got 3 copies of Allure of Darkness. Allure of Darkness, this synergizes so well with this deck, primarily because you can banish your Dark Attribute monsters, draw deeper into your deck, and we do have different ways of actually getting banished monsters back from the bandit zone onto the field, or even into your hand. So it just synergizes so well with this deck, and that's the reason why I love running this card at 3. And for some additional draw power, we have 2 copies of Pot of Extravagance. This deck doesn't have to go into its extra deck all that often, so you can utilize it for Extravagance to be able to draw deeper into your deck. All in all, just having the ability to go +1 several times during this deck, it's just amazing. Next up, we have 2 cards. We have Emergency Teleport as well as 1 from 1, and they both have the same goal: to get Tin Can out of your deck onto your field. Alright, 1 from 1 definitely is for Tin Can. Emergency Teleport you can actually use for any of the other low level Psychic types. Sword Troopers, Farm Girl, and Strawman also fit with E-Tele. Alright, and next up we have 3 copies of Kozmo Town. Kozmo Town, just an amazing field spell. This card allows you to fix your hand by shuffling back Kozmo monsters you don't need into your deck and drawing the same number of cards, which means if you open up a lot of ships, you can actually basically send some of those ships you don't need back to your deck and hopefully draw into some pilots. The other cool aspect of this card is that whenever this card is in your field zone and it's destroyed, and that means it doesn't matter if it's face up or face down, you're actually getting to search for another Kozmo card, and that's monster, spell, or trap, which is huge. Just being able to access any of your field spells like that is just amazing. Alright. The other field spell I'm running in this card, and to help facilitate the control aspect, is going to be one copy of Mystic Mine. Mystic Mine just is awesome with this deck because you can actually sit on one Kozmo monster, even if it's a pilot, and swap it out for one of the ships to interact with your opponent's field. And as long as you catch your opponent with more monsters than you do, yeah, you're going to be able to hold them down pretty well, because Mystic Mine, as long as your opponent has more monsters than you do, it stops your opponent from activating monster effects and even attacking you. So you can actually stall to build up your resources and then remove this card with Slip Rider to basically explode on your opponent. To help get to your Mystic Mine, we do have a couple extra cards. We have Set Rotation. This will give you Mystic Mine in your zone, and you can just drop a Kozmo Town on your opponents. When the field spells are face down, you can't activate any other field spells, which is awesome, so you can lock your opponent out from searching for things like maybe Magical Meltdown or any other archetype-specific field spells that can help them. Furthermore, you can summon Slip Rider, pop the Kozmo Town you give your opponent, and get that additional search. Demise of Land, just an awesome card whenever your opponent special summons, and they will be special summoning. You get this Activate Mine right from your deck, so you have ways to get Mine out of your deck fast. For the traps, we run 2 copies of Artifact Sanctum. Helps get Scythe to shut down your opponent's summoning from their extra deck, which is awesome. And it also helps out to protect Mine, because Mine only prevents activated effects and attacking. It doesn't stop your opponent from summoning. So by shutting down summoning from the extra deck, you're really removing that option of them paring down their field to try to equal yours to pop Mine. We got 3 copies of Cosmojo. Oh my god, this card is so awesome in this particular meta, because there are so many graveyard dependent decks. And what this card does, it allows you to target a Kozmo monster on your field, destroy that monster. So typically you'll be looking to destroy one of your ships, and then you banish any card off your opponent's field or out of any monster off your opponent's field or out of their graveyard. So this can help interfere with your opponent's plays, and or even just rip their field apart. So it definitely is worth having 3 of. Alright, we have one more way to get into Mine, and that's Metaverse. Trap version of Demise of Land, except you don't have to wait for your opponent to special summon. And then last but not least, to help out with a lot of the banishing you're going to be doing probably off of A War of Darkness, you have 2 copies of Storm Dragon's Return. What does this card do? It basically allows you to special summon any monster that's been banished back onto the field. It doesn't negate effects, and it just allows you to basically bring back another monster like Dark Destroyer or Slip Rider to pop cards off the field to allow you to do different things. That's it for the main deck. On to the extra. Like I said before, this deck doesn't really go into the extra, but when you do actually have some pretty powerful plays. Alright, so first and foremost, you have Livier the Sea Dragon. You make this with Farm Girl and Sword Troopers. And what you can do is you can target a level 4 or lower Banish monster and special summon back to the field. So you can get one of your pilots back, and that basically means you have another way to get into Tin Can. Okay, we have a level 5, rank 5 play in Jewel Driver Vespinato. I'm actually loving this card. It takes any 2 level 5 monsters, so you can actually make this with a Slip Rider and a Dark Lady. When this card's in the field, it can inflict piercing damage if it attacks a opponent's defense position monster. But the best effect right here is you could actually, if this card is ever destroyed by your opponent's card, you can actually special summon any level 5 or higher monster out of your graveyard back onto the field. And that's the reason why I love that final effect so much, because you can just get so much out of your graveyard. Okay, 2 Slip Riders will give you Cyber Dragon Nova, which will lead you into Infinity. Infinity is just an Omnigate, which is just awesome for any deck to have, and it can also slurp one of your opponent's monsters off their field, so, and add them to its own as material. So definitely worth having in this deck. The two Forerunners can allow you to go into number 11 Big Guy. Basically, this allows you to swap or steal your opponent's monsters right off their field. So, hey, use your opponent's resources against them. And then, of course, we have number 38, Hope Harbinger, Titanic, or Dragon Titanic Galaxy. It's basically a spell negator. And it can redirect attacks to itself away from your pilots if you don't happen to have ships in hand ready to go. So, definitely worth it as a rank A play. Plenty of ways to get all your level 1 Titan on the field, so it's natural to have Link Grid built in the extra deck ready to go. This card can tribute itself off to bottom out one of your opponent's monsters attack when it does attack, and it has a quick effect whenever a level 1 monster is on the field. You can actually just tribute that level 1 monster off to special summon Link Grid out of the graveyard, so definitely worth having all around. Helps facilitate the OTKs as well. We got 2 copies of IP Masquerade, just a great generic Link 2, and I like using her because she can actually Link summon during your opponent's turn and make the Link monster she summons unaffected by their card effects. And of course, we are running the Nightmare package, Cerberus to go after Special Summon Molesters, Phoenix to go off the back row, Unicorn to basically spin cards back to your opponent's deck. I'm also running a few other monsters, and they're the topological monsters, specifically Trisbania. Oh my god, Trisbania in the Eldritch matchup is just so amazing. Anytime you a monster special summon to a zone it points to, you banish the monster, and then as many spell and trap cards you can off the field, and then your opponent loses 500 life points for every card that was banished. Oh my god, that's just so awesome. It's their cards, not all the cards, but still, you get the idea. By banishing off your opponent's back row, you can actually just shut down Eldritch completely and just really destroy their chances of winning. I'm also running Topological Bobber Dragon. I love this card primarily because anytime a monster is special summoned to a zone it points to, it nukes the main monster zones. And if you happen to have ships in there, that means you're getting additional monsters on board, so you can actually set up more searches or negates, or even wall your opponent. And if this card attacks an opponent's monster, you get to inflict damage equal to that monster's original attack. So yeah, you get a little extra effect damage there. And then last but not least, Topological Zerbos. Oh man, this card is another amazing card. Basically, while this card's on the field, anytime your opponent special summons a monster to a zone a Link monster points to, you're basically banishing everything off the field. And then during your next standby phase, it comes back onto the field. So yeah, it just allows you to clear the field, remove your opponent's resources, and then you get a big boss monster during your next standby phase. And yeah, you can actually set it up to the point where you can special summon back to the zones to have it point to the 2 extra monster zones and lock your opponent out of using those extra monster zones for fear of activating its effect. So definitely worth having in this deck. Guys, that is it for my Kozmo deck profile for May 2021. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, make sure to give this video a thumbs up. Subscribe to the channel if you already haven't. Enable notifications so you don't miss a single upload. Check out the description box below. Find an invite link to my Discord server. Join the conversation. We'd love to have you. Check out my affiliates, tggplayer.com as well as psyduckversus.com. Great resources for any Yu-Gi-Oh player. Follow me on social media. And guys, until next time, may the Force be with you.